Hello and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing with myself, Jonny McFarlane. Today I'm joined by my fabulous colleague, Mr. Joshua Barry. Josh, how you doing this fine morning?
Good. It's not been just us two for a while, has it? Derek's on the train up to Glasgow as we speak for the training day. So nice to have just us two for once, Jonny.
Yeah, we've got a lot of coverage coming on the Rangers Review today of the training day. I think we've got 4 different players we're going to speak to, as well as Josh getting the chance to sit and watch an entire training session, which, I know for most of us that might be quite kind of ho-hum, not quite watching a game. But for you, that is geek out material, isn't it? It's essentially opening night of the new Star Wars film for me, for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't share your excitement at that. Although my dad is a big Star Wars fan, Jonny. But it'll be good fun.
Cutting, mate. That is so cutting.
I think it'll be a good day. I actually didn't go to the last one, which was, I think, it was under Gerrard, actually, wasn't it? So
yes,
it'll be interesting. You never know how much they actually do of meaningful training in these days. Obviously, there was the bounce game yesterday, but I think it's going to be going on for about an hour. Should be a good crowd there. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, we're going to get stuck into your questions, guys, so keep them coming in the comments box. I will make sure I get through as many of them as I can. As Aldo McNaught, a good friend of the show, always says, hit the like and subscribe, folks. Getting 10 to 15,000 viewers every single day, but we've only got 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. So can you please hit subscribe? You get a notification every time we go live if you do that. So as Aldo says, hit the like and subscribe button. Right, guys, in terms of the rest of the news, let's just get stuck in to the 2 friendlies. First of all, Josh, the Tottenham friendly where we were at, so we can give you pretty much chapter and verse on that game, whereas the Queen's Park game, obviously, we're going off highlights. But Tottenham, first of all, really, really terrific game. Very enjoyable to watch. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, you're right. We were obviously at the game together, Jonny, in the gantry, and from the first minute that Harry Kane kind of spinned on a pass into his feet after about 2 minutes, you could see the quality that they possessed. Obviously, Tottenham are meticulously coached under Conte in the way that they attack, and Conte is well known for that. Rangers were ambitious. We have a piece on the website about that yesterday, looking at the way that Rangers were brave to pass through West Ham and equally brave to develop their style, in Van Bronckhorst's words, against Tottenham. You know, he said we could have sat back and been really defensive, but the way he wants to improve is to go toe-to-toe with these teams. For large parts of the first half, I thought Rangers were the better team, although they did concede a lot of chances towards the end of the first half. And you can, John Souttar, I thought, looked a little bit, he's still obviously adjusting to man-for-man defending. Tottenham got in behind a lot, but as I put in my piece yesterday, Jonny, this is a Tottenham front three that did go and put three away against Man City just a few months ago. Kulusevski, Kane and Son also got a point at Anfield, one of the best counter-attacking sides in the world. So I don't think there's any shame at all in conceding a number of chances against them. I did see some comments after the game saying we played poor, and I thought that was a bit of a bit unfair on Rangers, who I think competed really well. I thought Kane obviously was a standout player, especially in that second half. But in the first half, I thought Lundstram did quite a good job on him. There was actually a passage of play once where Kent burst into the box and he's just stopped by Romero. And then when Tom Lawrence wins a free kick, and twice Lundstram kind of got the ball off Kane's toes, managed to jump in front of him, put Rangers on the attack again. And Rangers, obviously, in that kind of man-marking, aggressive style, did get a fair amount of joy. I thought the goal was really interesting for a number of reasons, because I put this on my Twitter feed, but something we spoke about when Matondo came into the club, people obviously always thought, I think it would be a left footer coming on to play in the right wing to allow Tavernier to overlap, but obviously that's not the case. It's a right footer that's come in to play that position. But if you look at Matondo, and anyone who was at the game will have seen this, he has so much pace to go round his players that there always seems to be, in the 2 games I've watched of him, a little gap for him to squeeze the ball, reverse it, similar to his assist for Lawrence in his debut. He was able to put the ball through Sessegnon's legs, and it's actually Tavernier that gets a cut. Gavin, started at right back, started the move, rotated in, untracked, very similar to a goal up at Ross County in January. So I think you're seeing the real structure of the team now with your 2 deep midfielders, the fullbacks going high, Lawrence looked really good for me. I think him and Tillman, having watched the highlights from yesterday's package, give you two interesting and different profiles at number 10. And good to see Cholak get a goal. I think that'll be important for his confidence. So overall, I think you've got to say the West Ham and Tottenham games, Rangers competed really well. The structure of the team for pre-season for me looks a lot cleaner in possession. I think Rangers look like they've got much more of an idea than they did last season, and obviously that's the benefit of some good time on the training pitch over pre-season.
And then I know it's highlights, Joshua, and we'll get to the questions after this. But Queen's Park, I suppose that the concern from the game and the result is that you've let 2 goals in against what is effectively kind of second string Queen's Park outfit. I mean, what did you take from the highlights? Were the goals acceptable, or were the mistakes?
The second one in particular, just off the top of my head, is where Robbie McCrory's kind of lobbed, and it's a ball over the top of the defence. It looks like quite an avoidable goal. I mean, Rangers, the highlights package was short, but anyone who's watched it will know Rangers looked like they had about 30 different chances in that game. Obviously, Rangers as well, playing with Leon King at right back and Adam Devine at left back. So not two natural players in that position. Very much a second string at the moment as well. Sakala up top. Scott Wright had a good few shots in the first half, taking the ball on his left foot a couple of times. The notable for me was I thought you saw Tillman, and you actually saw this when he came on against Tottenham, Jonny. The first thing he did was play that left-footed pass into Kent. Tillman, as well as being able to provide a goal threat from that position, gives you more than Lawrence, probably a creative threat from that position. Certainly from what we've read and seen about him at Bayern Munich. And a couple of passes that he played were really clever, really cute in the highlight package. Stephen Davis missed a penalty, and as anyone who's watched Stephen Davis over the last couple of years, I think Stephen Davis, apart from the Europa League final shot, he's forgotten how to shoot in the latter stages of his career. So I was surprised to see him step up and take it. But lovely, certainly. He won the penalty. He bought it a little bit, but it was clever play. He's a 16-year-old boy, so he looked very much like he knew how to acclimatise to men's football, having obviously played it in the Championship. But he won the penalty really cleverly. Got the winner, his second goal as well. It was a good finish after Devine had played in a good left-footed cross. So, yeah, as you say, only so much you can take from highlights, but certainly Lovelace and Tillman both look exciting. I imagine we will see Lovelace at some point in the first team this season, even though he is very young, because he's played down south. And again, from those couple of minutes that you see in the highlights package, he doesn't look out of his depth at all when he's playing against men, and he'll be doing the same in the Lowland League, won't he?
Yeah, indeed. Right, we're going to get to some of these questions now. Stevinho Cadinho is saying, "Morning, guys. Could you at some point address the Ibrox expansion rumour, 74,000?" Right, I've not spoken to anyone directly at the club about this, but and we will try and get some information today. But I think like 99%, this has come out of left field for me. The kind of finances you'd be talking about to expand the stadium to that level would be absolutely enormous. The club is already forking out a fortune on getting Edmondson House up to standard and obviously completely rebuilt. So I think this is a rumour, and I don't think there's any substance to this. Now, Rangers have looked at ways to improve the overall attendance. I think they've already done something in the last few months that has got the attendance up a little bit in terms of the hospitality areas and adding more seats. And I think they'll continue to investigate ways. But as to the kind of capital injection that would be required to add 24,000 seats or 22,000 seats to what is a listed building, you can't do big changes to it without getting all sorts of the okay, basically, from all sorts of bureaucratic measures. So I'd be shocked. And even looking at this picture that's doing the rounds, it doesn't exactly look like it's not like
an architecture's drawing.
It doesn't look like an official drawing. It looks like something somebody's knocked together. But we've had a few questions on Twitter about it. Now we're getting a couple of questions on here. So, guys, I mean, we'll if there's any substance to it, we'll be getting back to you on the website or Twitter. But I don't think so. Josh, you have a different take on that, or
no? I mean, obviously I can't remember what the season ticket number is this season, but it certainly was sold out very quickly. I know there's a lot of people on the waiting list as well, so I don't think it's a case of demand. But as you say, it's just not as simple as drafting up a few plans and adding a few seats on. You see, firstly, how much stadiums cost. With likes of Arsenal and Tottenham. I know building new ones in recent years, but development isn't cheap. Even Aberdeen, I know they've been trying to develop a new one. It's taken a long time. And although Rangers, as you say, already have their stadium, I think it would be something that would take quite a while. So I imagine the future Ibrox definitely will be expanded in some capacity. There's certainly the demand for it. But yes, it wasn't an architecture's drawing. The one that we've seen on Twitter, certainly it was.
We hope it wasn't.
Yeah, well, don't hire that architect if it is. Not that it was a bad drawing, but I wouldn't like to build off the back of that.
Yeah. We've got a question here. Teddy Bear, any news on Alfie or Kent? Nothing coming out. We know the club are in discussions with both players. We reported that on the Rangers Review months ago, to be honest. But it was confirmed by Giovanni van Bronckhorst when he spoke to the media out in Portugal. As far as it stands, guys, I'm pretty confident, I have to say, speaking to people, that at least one, but possibly both will renew. But you just have to wait and see how things pan out in football. I think the club are fairly relaxed for the time being on this issue. Don't think there's too many concerns. But perhaps if there are, those will accelerate towards the end of the window if something hasn't been agreed. I think there will be a bit of pressure on internally to get these over the line or to make a decision, because it's going to be a big decision to be made, Josh, if they don't sign. It's as simple as that. Are you going to want to allow around £10 million, possibly more in the case of Ryan Kent, just walk out the door on a free? I don't think so. So it'll be an interesting one to see how this one resolves itself.
And you've also got to, I think, Jonny reads between the lines in terms of what the manager, Van Bronckhorst, was saying to us in the press conference on Saturday, effectively saying that Yilmaz is going to be a Rangers player and that will likely be the last bit of business unless anyone else is to go out. Now, that could mean one of two things: that he could be speaking about big signings in terms of a Morelos or a Kent. He could be talking about getting people who aren't playing, such as Jack Simpson, off the wage bill before maybe a bit of cover is brought in certain areas. Although there's a lot of rumours around Kemar Roof at the moment because he's obviously injured. But Van Bronckhorst isn't having, he's been here for 8 months now, and having been in a lot of press conferences with him, he's not the type of manager to use the press, I would say, to get messages out. He doesn't really mince his words. He's quite straight to the point. I don't think he's going to be... So I'd say you normally take him at his word. And from those comments, I think he expects to have Morelos and Kent in the squad this season. Also, if both of them were to go, or one of them were to go, you would have to replace them. I know Matondo's come in, but if Matondo moves to the left, you've just got that right wing position as a problem all over again. Cholak is the only fit striker at the moment, heading into the new season, which isn't really a position that Van Bronckhorst will want to be in, having had to use a false nine this season, and now Joe Rebo obviously isn't at the club. So one to watch over the next month or so, but I tend to agree with you, Jonny. I suspect both of them will stay at Ibrox.
Okay, this is a good one for you, Joshua, and maybe you can give us your detailed thoughts on it. Robert Robertson with an excellent question. Is it worrying anyone else that our defence is still a bit flaky? 4 games in, no clean sheets. Is that something that maybe is slightly concerning, Josh?
Pre-season, I wrote I think it was my piece yesterday, that pre-season maybe can't tell you how well a team is going to play over the course of a season, but it can tell you how they're going to try to play over the course of a season. So it might not be able to, act as a precursor for will it be successful or not, but it will indicate what the manager is trying to do. So with that said, I think you can take certain things from pre-season. The structure of the team, the structure of the midfield is very defined this season compared to last. Both fullbacks going high is very defined. But the fullbacks and the wingers having a bit more autonomy to move inside and outside. You're not seeing Ryan Kent pinned to the touchline. as he was last season, but you're seeing him vary his game from going outside and inside at points, which makes him all the more difficult to mark. You can see with Tavernier for the goal, for example, with the flick he gets for Cholak, it's just a difficult move to counter because he moves all the way, comes inside the pitch, no Spurs player is with him. Suddenly there's an extra man in the box, and you see the importance of it and the value of it when he gets a touch on that. So with that said, you can see that, I think, the structure of the team, but also there is going to be rustiness. There is going to be, you look at John McLaughlin coming for that first cross against Sunderland, the goal that was conceded in Blackpool. West Ham, yes, you could say, I know there's been a lot made about Rangers, not a lot made, but I've seen a fair few comments on Twitter about our Rangers going zonal at corners this season, which I'm sure is something we'll look at a little bit into the season. West Ham are also one of the best sides in the Premier League at set pieces, have a few monsters. I was listening to a set piece webinar just yesterday with the Swansea City set piece coach on the Modern Soccer Coach podcast, and he's given lots of detailed answers, but he's also saying ultimately sometimes you are just met with a team who have a lot of giants and you have to try and compete, and sometimes they'll get a knockdown. When you've got the likes of Souček and numerous other players attacking your box, I don't think there's too much to be concerned about that. And then Tottenham, as we've just spoken about, you're playing against Harry Kane, arguably the best forward in the world, number 9 for me, or one of them certainly. We've just spoken about how that front three went and scored 3 goals against Man City just a few months ago. So of course, I think there will be rustiness, but we need to wait and see for the start of the season as to how this team, after a pre-season, after the squad's kind of been recalibrated to Van Bronckhorst style of football, if they are flaky, if there is vulnerabilities at the back. I kind of think, in general response to Robert's question, that it's a little bit of a hangover from Gerrard's final few months at the club, where Rangers defended in such a consistent manner in the way that they conceded the same type of goals a lot of times. They did concede a lot of times from set pieces at that point in the season. Maybe it's still a little bit of a hangover from that, scar tissue from that side. But what I would say is the left-hand side of the defence with Suter and Barisic, there's definitely been a couple of mix-ups to allow Mikel Antonio through in the West Ham game, which John McLaughlin makes a good save. Again, you see that against Tottenham. Partly that's probably teething issues. Partly John Suter and Barisic won't be facing the same quality of opposition in the Premiership this season, and I think Ben Davies will probably be first choice. But definitely one to watch. I do agree. Kind of just thinking about that there as I'm speaking, the left-hand side has got some teething issues, but you expect it'll be Yilmaz and Davies in there in a couple of weeks anyway, Johnny. So yeah, I don't think it's cause for concern. I think there's lots of positives to take of pre-season, but ultimately it's only an indicator. I don't think it can tell you how well the team are going to play. It can just tell you what they're going to try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a very good approximation. Listen, we're getting a lot of comments about Nathan Patterson. There were stories doing the rounds that he might be allowed to leave on loan. I understand that's completely false. Nathan Patterson's played every game in pre-season. He got 2 assists in a 4-2 win for Everton, I think yesterday or the day before, was essentially man of the match. I don't think the kid is in any mind to leave, and why would he? He's been injured pretty much since he signed, very, very quickly after arriving at the club, trying to force his way into the first team past an Irish international and Seamus Coleman. He got injured, bad injury, was kept out, and now he's back. I don't think there's been any discussion internally at Everton or with the player's agent about a move. So yeah, I think it's a non-starter. Anyone talking about Patterson going anywhere, I think Frank Lampard likes the player, and I think he'll be used this season. So yeah, we can move on from that one. In terms of other questions, Josh, we're getting a lot.
Can we speak, Johnny? Can we speak about Cholak? Because I think that's maybe a good topic after the weekend. I don't know what you think about this, but
yeah.
I kind of have got the impression that there's been some people that have been a bit underwhelmed by him.
Yeah.
And equally, to the other extreme, there's some people that say, yes, he's doing exactly what he was brought into the club to do. It'd be interesting to see what people think about him in the comments. But for me, I thought his touches against Tottenham were really good. He gives you that focal point. He's still getting up to speed, etc., etc. What have you made of his pre-season? Because I think any kind of, as I say, underwhelmingness kind of misses the point of what he's designed to do in this Rangers team. And, I heard Klopp speaking about Darwin Núñez this week, who was facing criticism, the kind of TalkSport breakfast show and stuff, people saying he hadn't said. It's crazy. Like, do you not think I mean, Klopp was basically saying, what
Insane.
a crazy world where you can't have a pre-season where players are allowed to fit into the club. I mean, what do you make about Cholak in that regard?
Well, first of all, Darwin Núñez is top, and we saw that against when Rangers played Benfica. It was just instant and obvious. So
Yeah.
he'll be a great signing for Liverpool. So I wasn't surprised to see him crash 4 goals in a game because he is going to be a great player for them. In terms of Cholak, I was really shocked to see so much criticism on Twitter of him, especially after the Tottenham game, because I thought he was excellent in the Tottenham game. His hold-up play was good. His touch was good. I don't even really recall him giving the ball away. You know, when the ball came into his feet, he knocked it off to someone else. He scored a goal, good finish. Look, he's not Alfredo Morelos. He's not, top level at Rangers, but I think he's going to do a very, very good job over the course of the season. I don't have any qualms about that. Come back to me in 6 months if Cholak doesn't have 10 goals. I'll be shocked because Rangers need a focal point. That's obvious. Alfredo Morelos, when he's playing up there, gives you that dimension. He gives you that power. And if Alfredo Morelos is not in there, then you need somebody to replace that. And Cholak, to me, at 2 million or 1.8 million, whatever it was, looks like an ideal signing. He's not super quick, Josh. I don't know if that... There's a thing now when players are maybe not lightning quick in modern football. It kind of stands out a little bit more because everyone's so quick, because the speed of the game and because pace is such a big issue. You look at, for example, Matondo and how impressive immediately it is because you go, wow, look, he's so rapid. But look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane's not quick. Harry Kane, by the way, in that game, I don't think I've been so impressed with a player at Ibrox probably since Riquelme. I genuinely,
it was amazing.
I thought he was unbelievable in the game. Didn't make a bad touch. The way he shapes and moves his body to take the ball in, to feet, the way he drops in a 10 position. Harry Kane had 2 chances in the game, scored both.
Yeah.
It was remarkable the way he found space and the way he moved forward at the right time. I was so impressed with him. But that's kind of like irrelevant. The point is, Cholak I thought was really solid, and I'm surprised to see so much criticism.
Yeah, I agree with Ross there. John Lundstrom, a perfect example of giving a player time. I also think James Sands in this preseason, you start to see the value of his passing out the back, especially against West Ham. He's not. I don't think he's. I think he is a number 9 who does have the athleticism to kind of stretch play and go behind. He's not. His goals at Ibrox last season for Malmo demonstrate. He's not an immobile striker. The way he moved to finish both of those. Into the far corner and kind of reverse his hips was a perfect demonstration of that. But yeah, point number 1, you've obviously got to give a player time to adapt to what their teammates want and et cetera. But I agree with you, Jonny. I thought he was impressive against Tottenham. Good touches. Maybe, I think it was his header for the second goal that turned possession over. But
yes,
it's not. I think it's hard to pin too much blame on him for that when you look at how high up the pitch Spurs had pressed. And Barisic's probably a little bit too ambitious in moving up the pitch before Rangers had kind of got a foothold kind of around the centre circle. So, no, I think he'll score a good amount of goals in the Scottish Premiership, offers a good focal point and needs a bit of time to bed into the style of play. So, yeah, interesting to see what everyone thinks about that because... as you say, Jonny, I was quite surprised to see people being a bit underwhelmed by him on Twitter. But that's Twitter, isn't it? I mean, you kind of attract a lot of different opinions.
There's a lot of people asking about, like 2 strikers, 3-5-2. We need to get more up top. I don't really think it's about how many strikers you have. It's about how many people you're getting into dangerous areas. I mean, a 4-3-3 can be a lot more attacking than a 4-4-2. But in the 4-4-2, you've got 2 strikers.
Yeah, and you look at Lawrence, arriving in the box, and Matondo as well should offer a bit more of a goal threat. Tavernier could be as much of a goal threat over a season as a striker, but it's about getting him into the box. And by Matondo being that threat by the touchline, the right touchline to stretch the pitch, as Rangers didn't really have without Tavernier, it allows him to go and attack the box and make that touch that provides for Cholak. So, no, I agree. I also thought I seen a comment there about Kamara, Jonny. I thought he Had a really, really good game. Glad to see him. Where do you see him fitting into the starting 11 this season? For me, Colin, he's definitely technically able enough to play that number 10 role. When having spoken to a few people at the club about Kamara recently, the thing that always stands out is obviously that technical ability, his close control in small distances. You remember the flick for Ryan Kent for Rangers going 1-up against Leipzig, where he manages to hold the ball in and kind of classic, like keeping the ball in the phone box, footwork to release him. But when he's playing deeper in the pitch, I just think it suits him more in terms of the pace. He's not a killer. He's not going to go and score that goal that Lawrence scores against West Ham and arrive in the box. But he also works really well, I think, alongside another midfielder. And when he first started playing under Van Bronckhorst, he was the only central midfielder, a lot of responsibility with and without the ball. But you remember under Gerrard in that 2020-21 season, he was fantastic next to Stephen Davis, partly because he wasn't the only pace setter. He had a partner in that position of the pitch. I kind of think that him and John Lundstrom, as long as no other central midfielders arrive, could actually work quite well together this season. And I think the difference from last season when they didn't work that well is that Kamara was kind of playing as a number 8 with just one number 6. I just think the midfield structure looks a lot better with both fullbacks going up, 2 number 6 to help progress play, a lot more like what Gerrard did in the 2020-21 season, just with a bit more variation in terms of the wingers. So again, that's another encouraging point, I think, from pre-season, especially Kamara's performance against Tottenham on Saturday.
Okay, folks, right, we're going to call it a day there. Just want to give a wee shout out to a regular viewer who have since lost his comment. David Kerr, hello troops. Sorry I'm late. I'm struggling with awful pain from this slip disc. Well, David, get well soon. I know that is a very painful one. Just keep yourself rested and I'm sure you will recover fine. But all the best from everyone at the Rangers Review. Right, we're going to call it a day now, Josh. Of course, guys, if you've enjoyed and watched the video, hit subscribe on YouTube. It is a massive help to us. It's, of course, absolutely free. You'll get instant notifications when we go live. And let me tell you, we're doing lots and lots more video this year. We've got absolutely tons coming up. We are at the Rangers training day today, which is going to be fantastic. And not just give Josh the ability to report back on the training and what's going on in the training that maybe you won't see without his educated coaching course completed eye. But we'll also have interviews with 4 different players all going up on our YouTube channel at some point. So there'll be some terrific content there to use and to watch. And just keep an eye on what's happening. So what I would ask you to do if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That will be a big help to us. Okay, we're going to call it a day there. Obviously, if you want to go and support what we do, go on the website. We are running a deal. It's £2 for 2 months coverage to the Rangers Review, $2.99 a month after that. It's £1 odds for a paper nowadays, so you're getting the full month for £3. I think that's a cracking deal. We've got at least 2, mostly more deep dive pieces every single day on the Rangers Review, so you're getting your bang for your buck. And we've got an app on the way very, very soon, hopefully 2 that is in production, and we're thinking it won't be too long until that is up and running, and that'll be a major help, I think, as well. Right, guys, we're going to call it a day there. But listen, thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully Derek Clark will be on with us too. Until next time.